Hi everyone. I am going to go over here my expectations for an annotated bibliography and topical outline. So the majority of this assignment will be the topical outline. The annotated bibliography will really just be some questions that you guys have to answer about the entire body of literature that you have summarized inside of your outline. So there are three parts to this assignment. One, you need to have raw outlines, the things that we did for exercise 2 and 3. You need 5 of those, and they need to be on peer-reviewed journal articles. And you can use the same articles for the assignment. So if your topic hasn't changed, exercise 2 and 3, you've already gotten 2 out of the 5 raw outlines that you need. From those outlines, you're going to combine all of the information in there, all of the facts, really, into one long topical outline. And I'll go over an example of this in a minute. Essentially, you're combining every raw outline into one long outline arranged by topic. And then you're going to answer 3 questions from the prompt. So some things about grading notes. You have to have sufficient information from each article. So some of you all got this feedback on exercise 2 and exercise 3 that you're just not pulling enough from this article. Some of you guys pulled 2 or 3 page articles. There's not going to be much in the introduction or discussion sections. But others of you, and most of you actually, especially if you're working inside of the social sciences, if you're reading 15, 20-page articles, you need to be pulling a lot more out of the introduction and discussion sections because you're just figuring out what is true inside of this literature base. It has to contain 5 peer-reviewed journal articles, and your topical outline should contain all of the facts and results from your raw outlines. So why do we do this assignment at all? First of all, you should get credit for doing reading. Your final proposal requires a certain number of resources, and it's a good idea for me to, one, check that you're doing that, and also make sure that you get some credit for the reading that you're doing. I'd also just like to check where your project is at right now. Are you in a good place where you can speak as an expert on your topic, or have you read enough about that stuff? It also builds skills around systematizing information and building connections between the different facts you have in the literature, which will really help with your literature review. So let's walk through an example, and I've also put an example for writing from an outline, which will be useful as you move forward inside of this class when you're going to take your outline and then write a draft of the literature review and problem statement for your paper. So these examples that I created were for a project on intimate partner violence, just as a content warning before we get too far into it. So on the right here, I have my raw outline. So this is every fact that I took out of this article, the Brighting, Black, and Ryan article from 2008. And on the left, I have a topical outline that I basically took all of these individual facts and arranged them by topic. And that's essentially what I want you to do for this assignment. So what facts do you need to put inside of your topical outline? Well, the general idea and measures don't really belong in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and strike those through. What I'm really concerned with here are facts from the literature and the results of this article, as this was an empirical article. So let's look at each one of these bullet points individually. Aside from crime surveys, there have been no large-scale IPV prevalence studies, IPV is intimate partner violence, since the 1996 National Violence Against Women survey. Now, the thing you have to ask yourself is, what is this little bit of information? For me, this seems like it's a critique of the literature and the fact that there are no national studies. So what I would do, select that, and copy it right here. If I'm just starting this outline, I would try and create those topics, critiques of IPV literature, lack of national studies, and see if there are other things that come up. All right, let's look at the second point. So the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention defines IPV as blah, 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 blah. So this is a definition of IPV, which is really important. Part of the things that you guys need to do in your literature reviews are figure out how your terms are conceptually defined. So I'm going to take that and copy it into here, definitions of intimate partner violence. Let's look finally at a third piece of data. So an estimated annual cost of 5.8 billion in the United States alone, and mental health costs and a lost productivity. So this is an estimate of how much intimate partner violence costs the U.S. economy. And yeah, so that would definitely be a part of my problem statement. It helps sort of make the case why intimate partner violence is an important problem, something that we should be concerned about and investing resources into studying. So I'm going to put that under problem statement, intimate partner violence. I might also do effect on economy. That could be another theme. So are there specific themes that you should be looking for? Not really. One of the things that you might want to consider is where this stuff might fit inside of your paper. Is this a definition of your independent variable? Is this a statistic about the prevalence of your independent or dependent variable in the population? So in here, I have the prevalence of intimate partner violence, which is 1 in 4 and 1 in 7. Those are important things. So another thing that I wanted to point out here is internal citations. So this is the original source of this information. So if I wanted to actually look up that CDC definition of intimate partner violence, I could go to Collin 2003, and that is exactly where that information would be. But where did I get that information from? I got that from the Brighting article. So inside of my topical outline, I actually list both. So I know where that information came from. Now, the prevalence statistics were actually a part of the results section. So there is no, the original source of this information is the Brighting article. So if I scroll down on my raw outline here, I see that right here. And topical outlines can get pretty useful and pretty detailed. So in here I have risk and protective factors for intimate partner violence. Those are broken up by race, and by age, and by income and education. And you can kind of see how this stuff is going to be useful and how it might come together inside of a literature review. So what should your final topical outline look like? Well, it should look like this, except it should contain information from 5 different articles. As you add new information, the topics or the themes that you come up with might change a little bit. Really, these things just have to make sense to you and to the paper that you want to write. But yeah, that is essentially the topical outline. Finally, you need to answer these 3 questions. Just attach a separate sheet of paper where you talk about these things for a little bit. Are there important differences or similarities or any gaps or controversies that you've noticed? And do the studies that you're looking at propose things that you can do to address those issues? And then what else do you need to know before you can write a really good literature review? So it's sort of critiquing where you're at now and where you need to be to write a really good proposal. And that's essentially the annotated bibliography assignment. If you look up how to do an annotated bibliography on the internet, they're not really going to teach you how to do the thing that I just showed. So if you have questions on how to do an annotated bibliography or how to do in particular a topical outline, which is the majority of this assignment, please email me and let me know. I would much rather give you feedback ahead of time than for you to misunderstand what I'm looking for and then get a bad grade after it's due. So where should I be? You should be almost done reading about 5 journal articles. We are in week 6 of this program. Your topic might have changed a little bit. Maybe it got a little bit more specific, but you should be done reading about 5 journal articles so you can start putting together your literature review. If your topic hasn't changed, you already have 2 of the outlines that you need for this assignment coming up, your topical outline already down. And your annotated bibliography is due on the 25th by midnight. So you should also be thinking about the information that you're putting inside of that annotated bibliography and that you're putting inside of your topical outline, because all of that stuff is going to factor into your literature review. So you should be starting to think about, how is this all going to come together? How can I write this out so that it seems like an authoritative, expert-written review of the literature on my topic? You should also be finishing your questionnaire for exercise 6, which is due tomorrow, and your discussion board for next week is to just comment on others' questionnaires, provide some positive feedback, and a couple of areas where they might improve their questionnaire. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching these things. Thanks for doing all of these things. And please reach out if you have any feedback on the videos or on the course. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.